For a few chaotic hours this week, the curtain behind the internet stage didn't just twitch, it fell completely down.
It really did. You're talking about that feature on X, right? The location tag.
Exactly. X, formerly Twitter, they just quietly switched it on. And for a moment, we had this moment of absolute hilarious clarity.
Hilarious, and I think deeply terrifying.
Oh, for sure. Because you know the accounts I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Ones with profiles just dripping in stars and stripes, writing these passionate, all-caps diatribes about, the American heartland.
Or diving into some hyper-local argument about the mayor of New York City.
Right. And to any casual observer, you'd think, okay, this is the voice of the people. These are real Americans fighting the culture war.
But then that little location tag flickered on and the whole illusion just shattered instantly.
Underneath the profile of a diehard patriot arguing for the Manji movement, the location didn't say Ohio, it didn't say Pennsylvania.
It said Nigeria.
And that really intense debate about New York City politics.
That was coming from Bangladesh.
It wasn't the sophisticated, state-sponsored spycraft we've been warned about since 2016. It was something so much more mundane and, frankly, bizarre.
A gig economy of outrage.
A gig economy of outrage. And, of course, X shut the feature down almost immediately. You could feel the panic.
Oh, absolutely. Panic mode engaged. But the damage was done. We all saw it.
We saw the reality. That the farmer in Michigan you've been arguing with might actually be an engagement farmer halfway across the world.
Just stirring the pot because divisive content pays the bills.
It forces us to ask this terrifying question. If we can't see the metadata, is the public square we're all shouting in, is it even real? Is it just a hallucination?
I think that moment, that glitch, was so important. It wasn't just chaos. It was, like you said, a moment of clarity. It was physical, undeniable proof of what researchers have been talking about for years.
That so much of what looks like organic grassroots conflict online is just fake.
It's systematic digital deception. The digital town square, it's less a gathering of citizens and more of a stage, and it's managed by financial interests.
So for this deep dive, that's what we need to unpack, the mechanics of this manufacturing of consent, astroturfing.
Right. And we have to go past just blaming individual bad actors and really focus on the architecture, how the algorithms, these trillion-dollar profit-driven algorithms, don't just allow this to happen.
They amplify it.
They actively amplify it. It's a profitable industry. And then we have to look at the consequences for national security, for democracy, and, for the social decay we're all feeling.
Okay, so let's start there with that core concept, astroturfing. It's such a perfect word for what we saw. Something fake replacing something natural.
It is. And the definition is actually pretty simple. Astroturfing is the deceptive practice of hiding the sponsors of a message.
The people paying the bills.
Exactly. The funders, the orchestrators, you hide them to make it look like the message is coming from real, unsolicited grassroots participants.
The whole point is to give it a credibility it doesn't deserve.
Right. I mean, think about it. If you know a massive corporation is paying for a message, you're naturally skeptical. Your guard is up. But if you think it's coming from your neighbor,
Your defenses are down. You trust it.
And this term, astroturf, it actually predates the internet by a long time, which tells you the tactic isn't new. It's just the scale that's changed.
So where does it come from?
The modern usage, it's credited to a former Texas senator, Lloyd Benson. And this was way back in 1985.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, he was in a debate, and he was describing what he called a barrage of postcards and letters that were being sent to his office.
And he figured out they weren't from real constituents.
He knew they were being generated by powerful insurance companies that wanted to kill a bill, so he made the distinction. He said he could tell the difference between grassroots and astroturf, referencing the artificial glass brand.
It's an old trick, but the internet put it on steroids.
Completely. And when we look at the scale today, it's not just politics. It's everywhere. It's in the most basic things like online shopping.
You mean product reviews?
Product reviews. The scale is just staggering. Data mining experts estimate that about 1/3, 1 out of every 3 consumer reviews you read online is fake.
A third?
Yeah.
That's massive.
It's a huge commercialized industry. We have reports of one specific New York business that did nothing but sell fake online book reviews.
They sold fake reviews. How much did they charge?
They charged $999 for 50 reviews.
$1,000.
$1,000. And they were making $28,000 a month, almost right after they opened.
So deception is a $300,000 a year business.
Yeah.
For one company.
And when something is that profitable, it just scales and scales.
So if the goal is to create this scalable illusion of support, how do they actually do it online? It's obviously not just one person typing. What are the mechanics behind it?
Well, they rely on a whole technical infrastructure to create an army of these believable but disposable digital actors. Exactly. They use sophisticated software, VPNs, virtual private networks, all for what's called persona management. The whole point is to hide your real identity, your real location.
So one person can pretend to be 100 different people.
100 different people with different interests, different hobbies from different places. It creates this instant impression of massive widespread support for whatever the agenda is.
And it's not always a human being behind the keyboard.
Not at all. I mean, researchers have documented these incredibly sophisticated, human-looking bot accounts. They found a set of them that operated automatically for 2 weeks.
2 weeks? With no human input?
None. And in that time, they made 1,586 unique posts, liking, commenting, sharing, all on autopilot before the platform finally caught them.
That's the ultimate ghost in the machine. And I imagine the coordination is incredibly precise. They're not just making random noise.
It's precision engineering. Think about Twitter trends or X trends now. They're a prime target because they act as this huge popularity proxy.
If it's trending, it must be important. People must be talking about it.
Exactly. It lends the whole narrative this false sense of credibility. A study looked at global trends in 2019 and found that a shocking 20% of them were fake.
1 in 5.
1 in 5 global trends was manufactured by coordinated fake accounts. This isn't just noise, it's industrial-scale sabotage of the public conversation.
And of course, this is a tool used by governments, by state actors. It's not just companies selling books. This is geopolitics.
Oh, absolutely. The model is perfect for authoritarian regimes. We see it with China and their network of anonymous online commentators.
The 50-cent army.
The infamous 50-cent army. They get paid, supposedly, 50 cents for every pro-regime post that doesn't get taken down. And their goal is actually pretty nuanced. It's not just about silencing dissent.
It's about perception management.
Precisely. Their main job is to seed pro-regime narratives into forums and comment sections, to simulate popular support, to create the illusion of legitimacy. It's often way more effective than just banning critical content.
It just makes the entire online world feel so unstable. You can't trust anything you see at that scale. Which brings us back to that personal, psychological shock. When the X glitch happened, it was like a moment of societal anomie. The trust just breaks down.
We should really dig into that Ohio anecdote, what you could call the illusion of local outrage, because it shows the impact so perfectly.
Right.
So imagine Sarah, a regular person. She's online, and she's debating an account she thinks is her neighbor, Patriot Dad 1980, and he's talking about a supposed crime wave in her specific Ohio neighborhood.
The content is designed to be visceral, to trigger her protective instincts for her family.
Absolutely. And because she believes it's a real local crisis, she doesn't just scroll past, she genuinely changes her behavior in the real world.
She stops her kids from playing outside. She gets into arguments with her actual neighbors who she thinks are being too complacent. She feels real fear.
She's basically being gaslit on a massive scale. Her entire reality is being warped by a source that is completely fake.
So when the X glitch happens and Patriot Dad 1980 is revealed to be posting from Dhaka, Bangladesh,
the illusion just shatters. There was no local crisis. It was a strategic, manufactured campaign. Sarah wasn't just falling for misinformation. She was the specific psychological target of professional operators who were weaponizing these algorithms.
And that's how they fracture communities.
Yeah.
They accelerate this anomie by targeting our deepest instincts with professionally designed psychological warfare.
The real consequence, though, is that this poisons the well for everyone. If any genuine grassroots movement starts to get traction, everyone just assumes it's fake.
Right. How can real community organizing ever succeed if everything that scales quickly is immediately suspect?
That's the problem. That inability to tell what's real from what's manufactured is a direct threat to democratic discourse. And we see this model being used by very well-funded political movements that claim to be grassroots.
Like the groups we've seen in the parental rights movement, such as Moms for Liberty or Parents Defending Education.
Exactly. These are groups that seem to appear out of nowhere and gain national prominence almost overnight, which, is a huge red flag for a grassroots movement.
Moms for Liberty, for instance. They were founded in early 2021 and had national media attention within weeks. not years, weeks.
Right. And while they present themselves as this spontaneous movement of concerned parents, their rapid rise has been heavily documented. It benefited from early, sustained support from powerful organizations like the Heritage Foundation.
Which is connected to major right-wing donor networks. So they're getting money, but it's more than just money, isn't it?
It's much more. They're getting logistical support, media training, organizational blueprints. This isn't just a few worried moms at a kitchen table. It's a coordinated, well-oiled political machine.
And they're using a manufactured grassroots image to achieve these specific political goals, like targeting local school boards.
Precisely. They use these classic astroturfing tactics. They focus intense energy on school board takeovers, highly visible book banning campaigns, especially targeting LGBTQ+ themes.
And it's all framed under this emotionally charged banner of protecting children.
Which fits the sociological definition of a contemporary moral panic. Advocacy groups and researchers, including the Southern Poverty Law Center, have noted they target specific groups, in this case LGBTQ+ youth and educators, as folk devils. They generate this intense public anxiety that is way out of proportion to any actual threat.
So this shows how powerful interests can weaponize digital deception for massive offline political gains. But the really chilling part, the thing the X glitch proved beyond a doubt, is that the platforms aren't just letting this happen.
They're incentivized by it. The
No.
profit motive is the real adversary here.
That's such a critical transition to make. We're not talking about fixing a bug. We're talking about a system that's working exactly as designed.
Yes, a system where polarizing, inauthentic, outrage-generating content is a profitable feature, not an accidental flaw.
So let's get into the foundation of that problem, the engagement-first business model. The numbers are pretty stark. They're totally dependent on advertising.
It's the physics of the system. The whole business model is targeted advertising. They maximize their profit by tweaking every single product mechanic, the size of the share button, the color of the text all, for maximum user engagement.
They need you clicking, commenting, sharing, reacting.
Because that lets them serve you more ads. I mean, look at the 2019 numbers. Advertising revenue made up 98% of Facebook's revenue. That's $70 billion. For Twitter, it was 87%, or $3 billion.
They're not tech companies, really. They're attention extraction companies.
That's what some analysts call them, the most successful extraction industry in history, just dedicated to extracting our attention and our data.
And the algorithm is the engine that does the extracting. Its priority isn't truth. It's not social cohesion.
Its priority is just duration and intensity of engagement. They're built on this powerful, cold mechanic called reinforcement learning.
Which sounds technical, but the concept is simple.
It's very simple. The algorithm learns what to show you by measuring how you react. And it constantly adjusts to maximize that reaction. It doesn't care if you're reacting with joy or fear or rage.
It just cares that you stay on the page.
It just wants you to stay present. It has no ethical filter. It can't tell the difference between violent extremism and a healthy debate, or between truth and a lie. It just optimizes for attention at all costs.
And that's the mechanic that creates the radicalization spiral. You click on something a little controversial.
And the algorithm says, you like controversy, here's more. It's been reinforced to know that that kind of content holds your attention longer than some nuanced, moderate discussion.
So it just keeps feeding you more and more extreme views.
It draws users down a pipeline, trapping them in this self-reinforcing negative feedback loop. The more polarized you get, the more predictable you are, the better they can sell ads to you and the more money they make.
This brings us right back to the gig economy of outrage. That engagement farmer in Lagos. It's a completely illogical response to the system they've built.
Right. Let's put ourselves in his shoes. Let's call him Emileka. He's in Lagos, facing crippling youth unemployment. He's smart, he's fluent in English, he's digitally savvy.
And he sees this platform's ad monetization structure as a massive economic opportunity.
He looks at his dashboard and he understands the math immediately. A well-researched, nuanced post about local policy. It earns him 0 cents in revenue share.
Because nobody engages with it. It's too boring.
But a vitriolic, inflammatory post, a fake, targeted attack on a cultural figure that gets 50,000 viral impressions, that brings in the ad money he needs to feed his family.
So it's not about ideology for him. He's not some foreign agent with a grudge against Americans.
He's punching the clock. He's working in the global digital outrage factory because the platform has made outrage the most profitable product he can sell.
It just forces you to see the problem as structural. It's not just a few bad people. The platform's own economic incentives are turning foreign influence ops into a scalable business model.
The platform is literally paying for the polarization that it claims it's trying to fight.
The most disturbing part of this, for me, is that they knew. The internal documents show they knew exactly what was happening.
They absolutely knew. The whistleblower documents submitted to the SEC were just chilling. They revealed Facebook had evidence from a variety of sources that hate speech, divisive political speech, and misinformation are affecting societies.
And they knew why?
They knew why. The analysis explicitly said the company's core product mechanics, such as virality, recommendations, and optimizing for engagement, are a significant part of why these types of speech flourish. They knew their own design was the problem.
And this structural reality, where profit is tied directly to amplifying hate, it leads to catastrophic offline consequences.
It does, and we have public admissions of this. Think about January 6th. Twitter's CEO admitted to Congress that the platform contributed to the spread of misinformation and the planning of the attack.
And Facebook's own internal analysis said they were unprepared for the Stop the Steal movement.
They failed to see it as a single growing whole, so their algorithms just kept amplifying individual pieces of it, fanning the flames.
The line between online dynamics and real-world violence has just completely disappeared. It's a massive security challenge now.
It is. So let's move into those consequences. The path from algorithmic amplification to offline terror is, sadly, very well documented.
We see this boomerang effect, right?
That's what it's often called. Extremist content gets created and refined on fringe sites, Gab, 8chan, places like that. Then it's strategically introduced to the mainstream platforms,
where the algorithms pick it up and blast it out to a much wider audience.
And then it cycles back to the fringe channels, but it's brought new recruits with it, it's refined its messaging, it connects and motivates people all over the world.
And we're not just talking about angry comments online. There is a clear, documented line to mass casualty events.
We see it consistently with white supremacist violence. The core conspiracy theory driving a lot of this is the Great Replacement theory.
This idea of white genocide.
This deeply racist, paranoid idea. And this ideology, amplified by the algorithms, correlates directly to the manifestos and motivations behind the mass shootings in Poway, in El Paso, in Pittsburgh.
The attackers in Pittsburgh and Christchurch both explicitly mentioned it.
They did, and they used the online communities as active participants. The Christchurch shooter told his online group that he was going to live stream the attack on Facebook. He was performing for them.
So even when the platforms try to do these big purges, the groups just adapt. They change their language and pop right back up.
It's a constant and, frankly, losing battle. You're up against highly motivated actors who are incredibly adaptive. The Boogaloo movement is a perfect case study in this evasion.
They're the group advocating for a second American Civil War.
Right. And two of their adherents, who connected in a Facebook group, carried out a fatal drive-by shooting in California in 2020. Facebook then purged hundreds of their groups.
But they came back.
They came back almost immediately, using this incredibly coded language. They would use names like Charbroil True Infrared Grilling or other random product names to hide in plain sight.
And the most damning part.
The most damning part is that even after the purge, Facebook's own recommendation algorithms were found to be actively recommending these new hidden pages to other like-minded users.
So the algorithm was still doing its job, continuing the radicalization pipeline, even against the company's stated policy.
It perfectly shows how policy is useless without enforcement that actually addresses the algorithmic engine. And this strategic adaptation, it's not just about hiding, it's also about normalizing.
That's maybe the most insidious part. Operation Normie Rake.
Yes, the strategic plan used by white supremacists to normalize the White Boy Summer slogan. The plan they circulated explicitly told followers to create posts about it without the use of fascist NS symbols.
So normies can get in the mood. It's an infiltration tactic.
It's pure infiltration. They want the language to seem common, even trendy. So when a real-world event happens, like the Derek Chauvin verdict, they can immediately seize that language and weaponize it, framing it as a response to perceived threats and often calling for violence.
These security implications, they go way beyond domestic extremism.
Yeah.
We're seeing this algorithmic amplification destabilize multi-ethnic countries all over the world.
It's a planetary security risk. It worsens communal violence, religious polarization, distrust in democracy everywhere, Look at a place like Kashmir.
A highly volatile, fractured region.
Exactly. And militant groups there, like the Kashmir Tigers, they strategically abuse the algorithms. They produce high-quality videos and use very precise hashtags to align with trends. They're very successful at reframing militancy as legitimate resistance, and it's radicalizing a lot of young people.
And we see similar things happening in diaspora communities, right?
Yeah.
Resurrecting old separatist movements.
The Khalistan movement is a clear example. Certain elements are weaponizing social media to revive Sikh separatist ideas, especially in the diaspora in Canada, the UK, Australia.
And they do it with emotionally charged content about historical grievances.
Which is exactly the kind of material the algorithm is designed to boost. It gives these fringe ideologies huge visibility and political power in their host countries.
So this systemic manipulation, where a private company's black box algorithm is undermining national stability, this is why governments are finally starting to see the algorithm itself as the threat.
The French government's move was a landmark. They launched a formal criminal investigation against X in July of 2025, and the allegation is organized algorithmic manipulation.
They're going after the algorithm itself.
They are. They're formally saying that the algorithm is a threat surface that demands regulation. It's a huge shift away from just focusing on individual users who post bad content.
Okay, so we have a clear diagnosis of the problem. The architecture is designed to amplify harm. So what about the solutions? Content moderation, as it exists, seems to be failing pretty spectacularly.
The failures are systemic. They're driven by the sheer impossibility of scale and the human cost. Platforms use this combination of human moderators and AI systems.
And when they lean too heavily on the AI, it makes mistakes.
Big mistakes. During the pandemic, they relied more on automation, and it led to the mistaken removal of huge amounts of legitimate content, like ads for small businesses.
And the human cost of doing it manually? It's just intolerable.
It's a devastating job. Facebook reached a $52 million settlement with moderators who developed PTSD from the constant exposure to violent, traumatizing content.
And even with all those people, the content just spreads too fast.
Need defeats them every time. Something can go viral overnight, reach millions, before a human can even find it, let alone review it and take it down.
Plus, the moderation that does happen is just.
Yeah.
It's inconsistent and totally opaque. The ADL report cards on this were pretty damning.
They were. The Anti-Defamation League studied how platforms responded to reports of anti-Semitic content. Not a single platform got a grade higher than a B-.
But the bigger problem was the lack of transparency.
The process was a complete black box. Crucially, no platform would give any rationale for why they did or did not remove something you flagged. You just get an automated response. You never know the reasoning. It makes real accountability impossible.
And that lack of transparency feeds right into the biggest problem for regulators, the black box problem. You can't regulate what you can't see.
That is the core difficulty. These algorithms are treated as proprietary corporate secrets. It's incredibly hard for any outsider, a regulator, an auditor to understand their outcomes, let alone prove bias or harm.
And because these companies are transnational, they can just exploit gaps in jurisdiction between different countries.
Right, which is why advocacy groups are saying that small piecemeal fixes, like just hiring more moderators, are completely insufficient. They're calling for radical systemic change.
Through frameworks like the Repair Plan and the Protect Plan. What's the core demand there?
The core demand targets the economic incentive head-on. They're saying platforms must adjust their algorithms to stop recommending extremist or conspiratorial content, even if, and this is the key part, even if it lowers user engagement and costs them money.
And they want access to the data. Open the black box.
Let independent researchers in to study the impact of these recommendation systems. Finally, lift the veil.
So if regulation is slow and challenging, some people are trying to sidestep the problem by just building entirely new kinds of platforms based on verifiable trust. This brings us to the subscription model.
It's a fascinating idea, paying for trust. There was a climate scientist who beta tested an experimental platform designed for exactly this kind of high-trust discourse.
And it had a high barrier to entry, right?
A very high barrier. You needed two things to join: a government ID to verify you are who you say you are, and a monthly subscription fee. It was an exclusionary, gated community.
What was the experience like inside?
The scientists said that once you were inside, all the noise, all the astroturfing, all the bad faith arguments, they were just gone. Because every single user had a known, verifiable identity, the incentive for trolling was gone.
The price of admission filtered out the industrial manipulation.
And the psychological effect was profound. The scientists described it as Walking from a riot into a library.
Wow. Walking from a riot into a library. That's a powerful image.
Think about that sense of relief. You're leaving behind the constant stress of being shouted at and manipulated, and you're entering a space for quiet, productive conversation. But it raises that huge question.
Can high-trust digital spaces only exist if they're exclusive? If access is limited, that runs completely counter to the whole open web ideal.
It's a massive challenge. If a paywall is the only way to escape the gig economy of outrage, what does that mean for equity and accessibility?
Are there other technical solutions besides just putting up a paywall?
There are a few alternatives being explored. First, you have federated networks, what people call the Fediverse, things like Mastodon.
Where the control is distributed.
Right, it's collective governance. Control is spread across many independent servers or instances. So if one instance starts hosting bad content, the other instances can just collectively agree to block it. We saw that happen when the Fediverse mobilized to block Gab. It's decentralized moderation in action.
And then there's the blockchain approach.
Yes, platforms like Minds or Steemit. They use cryptocurrencies for monetization and decentralized governance. They're very popular with people who are frustrated with the censorship on the big platforms.
But because their whole reason for being is often a reaction against moderation, they tend to have very lenient policies.
Which often attracts extremist users who have been kicked off of other platforms.
And this leads to a huge, almost unsolvable technical problem. The immutability paradox.
That's the ultimate trade-off. The blockchain architecture gives you radical transparency and permanence. The record is there for everyone to see, and it can't be changed. But that means content, once it's on the ledger, can't be deleted.
So if someone posts something truly horrific, like child sexual abuse material,
it cannot be taken down, ever. The price of that radical transparency is the inability to perform the most basic, necessary content safety functions.
So this whole deep dive, it really comes down to this one clear tension. If rich metadata and verified identity are the keys to a functional high-trust digital space, the current system is actively denying us that information. The X glitch proved it.
They're denying it because that denial is more profitable.
Right. We've gone through the mechanics of astroturfing, the algorithm as an adversary. The path forward is incredibly complex.
That X glitch, it just provided this accidental physical proof of the digital illusion, that so much of the passion and anger we see online is manufactured by a profitable system that is engineered to optimize for rage.
The key takeaway seems to be that it's not a technology problem.
Not at all. The capability to solve this exists. The problem is a total lack of business incentive. The system is working exactly as it was designed to maximize profit. And that design inherently, fundamentally prioritizes corrosive, divisive content.
We've really unpacked the systemic mechanisms today, from the old idea of astroturf to this modern gig economy of outrage and the severe global security threats that come with it. The path forward has to be more than just better moderation. It seems like it has to be a fundamental redesign of the entire incentive structure.
It has to value human safety and genuine verified connection over pure, unverified, and weaponized engagement. The internet's public square, if we're going to save it, has to be rebuilt on a foundation of proven trust, not just ephemeral clicks.